It is 2:37 in the morning right now. What the fuck is happening? If no one told you they love you today, I can barely talk. If no one told you they love you today...
You're listening to Hypothetically with Will Newman.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. Thank you for listening to Hypothetically with Will Noonan. That is me, coming at you right now from the Honda Accord sedan. I'm on 91 South in Connecticut. I'm heading to New York City right now to do a show tonight at the Stand NYC, great comedy club in New York. And I'm doing a couple podcasts and radio shows while I'm down there. And I'm very excited to be doing them all. And I'm very excited to be doing this episode of Hypothetically right now. So I was hanging out with my buddy, young comedian Andrew Della Volpe last night. He's a longtime listener of Hypothetically. He's like, dude, how come you never put out Hypotheticallys anymore? People ask me that a lot lately. It's been like over a month. I don't think I put out one episode. Whoa, just saw someone almost crash. I didn't put out one episode the entire month of August, and I apologize for that, but I did put out 4 episodes of my other show, the new show, The Noonan Show, which I do with my buddy Paul. More on that later. But what can I say, guys? I have acid indigestion right now. I'm getting the science teacher voice. But the truth is, busy. Not just with work, but with my life. Moved into a new apartment in August with my girlfriend. We have moved in together. I'm cohabitating with a woman. More on that to come as well. So, of course, that's a huge ordeal as far as moving just all your shit. It's just a huge pain in the ass. Decorating, furnishing the place. All that stuff takes forever. It takes a ton of energy. Your boy is filming a part in a movie right now, a legit, real movie that's like gonna be in theaters and on Netflix and shit. And I'm also doing these awesome Honda commercials that I'm super excited to continue on with, and we're doing more of those. There's a 3rd round of them coming out now, and the radio spots I think are awesome that we did, and they're coming out. And just being a stand-up comedian. So all that stuff's been going on in the month of August. And it's been super fun and super exciting. But man, am I sort of, I don't know what, tired's not the word, but it's just, my chick who I live with now, I've definitely noticed, she's in a very sort of hard-working period of her life. She's in grad school. She's in a very intensive field, and it requires immense dedication to just studying, and like she's got to spend hours upon hours studying and listening to these medical lectures, and it's just boring stuff, but it's very hard work, and she's tested on all of it. So to see someone work that hard is it's not only like inspiring, but it also kind of reminds you of the times in your life where you worked that hard, or something comparable to that hard. So I'm like, lately I've been feeling akin to that. Like I've been feeling a little bit of that. I just wake up, I just look at my schedule, see what it says, and I do it. I have very little sort of free time or thought to be like, what am I doing right now in the past couple of months? Like I did have a couple of days here and there where I went to the beach and I read a book a little bit or something, but for the most part I've been doing a lot of running around the city of Boston, a lot of running around New England, a lot of time in front of a camera, and I definitely do not want to complain one bit. But that's kind of the nature of this podcast. Everything sounds like a complaint when it's one guy talking about it. But yeah, so that's the reason why you didn't get 2 different podcasts from me in a month. We've been focusing on The Noonan Show. The Noonan Show, doesn't do as well as this show. Even when I don't put out episodes, which makes sense. This show's been around for years. it's a different kind of thing. It's probably the first thing that comes up when people look for a podcast, and I'm all that kind of stuff. So I'm I continue to love and want to nurture Hypothetically, but the Noonan Show is a different beast, and I got to admit it's a lot more kind of fun to go do it because it requires very little of me. Paul does most of the heavy lifting. He sets up all that equipment every week. He's got it all set up on YouTube and stuff. All I do is go over to his house, have fun talking to him for an hour, shooting the breeze, and then I go home, and most weeks I download the audio and put it up as a podcast. That's like my big part of it is production-wise, is that I handle the podcast end of things, and Paul does the rest. So that's not very. And also I've missed that a couple weeks. I haven't even done that. I've just waited until the next week and put it out. So what's the fucking reason? Why am I such a shithead? Because I've said it before. I guess it's been a while since I've said it on this fucking podcast. But people always want to kind of make it seem like I'm not a stand-up comedian, or I'm like a different type of stand-up comedian or something. I feel like people think that I'm like a more responsible, healthy, reliable stand-up, which I do think I am in the grand spectrum of stand-ups. I do work hard. I do the little things, and I'm pretty technically savvy. All that kind of shit. I think I'm in the upper end of the spectrum, but the reality is I'm still a comedian. You put me in front of a computer for more than 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm not writing comedy or something, I get fucking bored. I don't want to do it. It's a chore. Putting dates on my web, like the things I love doing, writing jokes, performing them, traveling to gigs, even performing gigs, like stuff that's in motion, things I hate doing, putting dates on my website, sending avails, answering emails from randoms. I'll answer an email from a fan in like 10 seconds, but an email from someone who wants to book me for some reason, I'm like weird about answering those fast because I gotta think about whether I'm open, all this shit, So sometimes I always wish, I've talked about it many times, wish I had a little help, someone to do more for me, but then I get a different type of anxiety, which is like, you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. It's a whole fucking thing. But anyway, that's my excuse. But to be kind of saccharine for a moment, it's funny. All right. So here's a little bit of a story. I'm in my own car right now. I didn't know until like last night whether or not I was gonna take a train, a bus, a plane, or drive to New York City. I was kind of, like I said, been doing a bunch of shit, been very busy, kind of been taking things one day at a time. That's not good when it comes to travel. Travel gets cheaper when you plan it ahead of time. And it just is good for your peace of mind to have things taken care of. But this time I was actually waiting until last night to just decide whether or not I was going to drive or take the Amtrak. Jesus, that scared me. Fuck, you scared me. Google Voice lady. She hasn't said anything in an hour. So anyway, I've been driving in silence like a psycho. I kind of like it sometimes. So I just hadn't decided, but sometime during the day yesterday, I was like, if I do drive to New York, I need at least one new tire on my car. One of my tires is ready to fucking go. You can see the metal threads of like that hold it together. And I need an oil change. So I was kind of like, yesterday I had a little time during the day before Capo. I had pretty much the entire day free. And I was like, okay, listen, I need to get an oil change, and I need this new tire at some point. Why not just get it done today? Winter's coming. I'll have fresh tire on the car, fresh oil change. This will put my mind at ease. And then as, of course, I go to get that done, as I'm waiting, I'm like, I'm probably just going to drive to New York. I like driving to New York as opposed to taking the train or the bus, just because driving gives me an activity. It gives me something to fucking do on the way there and back. I just get kind of bored. I'm not one of those people who loves to sit and read. I do love to sit and read a book at home. I do love to sit and watch movies at home. But when I'm on an airport or I'm on an airplane or in a car or a bus or train, I'm sort of always aware of being in transit. I was thinking of this last night. It's something I've always kind of disliked about my own personality or my own mind is like, why am I such a destination heavy like fucking thinker, man? Even shooting commercials or films, whatever the fuck you're shooting, I always think this. It's in my mind. I have this like comedic. It's like the mind of a comedian mixed with the mind of a union carpenter or a I don't even know. It's like I just can't help but see gigs, creative gigs sometimes as jobs, and it's like, let's just get this job done, and get it done well, but let's just get it done and check it off our to-do list. That's the feeling, when you get onto a set to shoot something, whether it be a commercial, a TV show, movie, they have like a shot list and you see the shots you got to get that day. And so that's kind of what when you look at it, you're planning in your mind. You're like, okay, we're doing this part first and this part second. You sort of start mentally preparing for things, and it kind of gives you an idea of what the day is going to be like. So I kind of can't help but throughout the day just start checking those off, and like anything, as if I were cleaning my house or doing errands, I just want to do it as quickly as possible and get, I don't know, to the couch, which is weird because oftentimes when I'm home on the couch, I'm like, let's do something, It's a very weird urge that believe me, it's not like a disorder. I'm not like thinking about it all the fucking time. It's not like affecting my life. But sometimes I catch myself being like, hey man, just enjoy this. Just enjoy what you're doing. Today I gotta, drive all the way to New York, go do Jared Freed's podcast, and then run up to Kumia and do as much of that show as I can. Then I got like an hour and a half, and then I'm at the stand doing that show. And then it'll be like 10:30, 11 o'clock tonight that I'll be getting back in the car, coming back to Boston. And there's probably about 10% of my brain, maybe even 15, 20% that's just like looking forward to that 11 p.m. that's getting in the car. Or maybe even more so the 2 or 3 a.m. when I'm getting back to Boston. I might, who knows, I might crash somewhere, but I really doubt that I will, because most of the time I'm so awake after a day like this. I'm like wired. That's what really sucks. When I get back to Boston tonight, when I get home at like 2 or 3 a.m., I'm still going to need an hour minimum, hour and a half to chill out and stop my brain. All that, see, here's the point. The point is, this is the goal. This is what I've always wanted. This is so cool that I'm on this real comedy album, by the way, which comes out in 3 days. You can get it on Apple. You can stream it on Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora. You can request it on Sirius XM. I only have one joke or one track. It's a compilation album of Boston comedians. I have one track called California Sober, so you can request that on Sirius. I would love it if you did. Sirius is like my favorite place to be played because a lot of people have it, and it always spreads your comedy to the most amount of people as being on Sirius XM, I think. So this day in New York is kind of to promote that. I'm going on those shows to talk about it, and then we're doing the show at the stand. All of us who are on the album. So this is like an exciting fucking day. And this is what I was talking to my friend and colleague Andrew Del Volpe about last night, because it's so funny, I caught myself complaining to Dan Hall and Austin McLeod, other comics from Boston too, younger comics than me, about like the fact that they didn't get us a hotel room or anything, and it's gonna cost, it's just expensive to do things, to drive, to buy plane, train tickets, all that stuff.
Left onto I-95 south toward New York City.
Yeah, baby. So I caught myself bitching about that, but before I could even finish the sentence, I was like, oh my God, what a jaded prick I am. Complaining about doing cool shit like this because it's awesome. And honest to God, it is fucking awesome. The only point is, I'm a little bit like in need of just like a fucking couple days where I can like lay around and jerk off and watch TV shows and smoke weed. I'm looking forward to doing that here and there eventually. Feels like I haven't done much of that since March. But on the other hand, I know that's sort of just everyone wants to do that, and you know, if you want to make money and you want to be successful and you want to have fun, you got to work. So I guess the point is, it's so funny, you know, that Hypothetically is an old fucking podcast, and I really think one of the coolest things about it, and the thing that the reason why I think people still listen to this show, the old episodes especially, is because it's kind of damn girl, it's kind of crazy that it's working out. You know, I'm far from a fucking big old famous comedian or anything like that. I think I'm far from national fame or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but it's amazing that I'm still doing it full time. Things keep getting cooler and cooler. And thank you. You're interrupting my fucking podcast. You're so much louder than Waze. I don't have Waze going right now because it's just not working today. Way to go. And I'm on this fucking Google Maps app instead. So, God, guys, I really fucked up this story from yesterday by just getting really like into. So what's going on with my idea of what being busy means? 64 miles, continue straight. Noted. Ooh, I'm in the last hour and a half of my drive. That's exciting. All right, so point of this story. So yesterday I go and get 2 brand new fucking tires from Sullivan Tire, and then I go to another place that I know. It's kind of a shady gas station that I like to go to get oil changes, because I like to get my oil changes at shady, regular old gas stations, because I don't want them to suggest that I do other shit to my car or try and charge me like crazy fees. You go to like a regular shit gas station, like a Mobile somewhere that does anything, inspections, have your oil change there, get the synthetic, and it takes like a half hour. You go to Sears, you go to Sullivan Tire, some of these other places, it's like 2-hour wait for a fucking oil change, and they try and sell you a bunch of shit, and it just stinks. So I go there, get the tires there, and get the tires put on, which takes 2 hours, and no one calls me back. When it's done, I just come back and my car's all done, and then go to my shady place and get my oil change. The whole thing took like 6 hours, 5 to 6 hours, but had a good book. Had some iced coffee, sent out my avails, did some biz, got it all done, feeling like a very good boy for thinking ahead. I'm like, you know what, now my car's looking good, it's got fresh oil, fresh tires for the winter, I'm going to New York tomorrow, I'll just fucking drive myself, I'll be in full control of what I want to do, I'll leave whenever the fuck I want to leave, I'll get there when I want to fucking get there, maybe I'll be able to give Kenny a ride back, who fucking knows, you know? It's gonna be good. It's gonna be gravy. So I go home feeling good. My girl's there. Give her a fucking kiss. You know, sit on the fucking couch for a minute with her. And then she goes to work. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take a fucking nap right now before I go to Capo tonight and do this comedy show. I love life. You know, I'm all prepared for my big day tomorrow. So I go and I take a nap. And I wake up from the nap. And it's like 7 o'clock. And I keep my phone on silent most of the time. It's not 100% of the time, but I happened to look at it, and someone was calling me, and I didn't answer because it was a number I didn't know. And then I saw it light up again a moment later, so someone was doing the call me repeatedly move. So I was like, all right, it must not be a telemarketer. That's not really their MO. So I answer the phone, and it's the guy from Sullivan Tire. And he's like, hey, man, we're all closing up here, and we realized that one of our mechanics kind of screwed up, and he kept the lug nut key from your car. So if you want to change one of your tires, we got the lug nut key here, and you got to come pick it up either tonight or tomorrow. So this was bad fucking news, because now they're closed. I'm going to New York City the next morning, trying to give myself as much time to sleep as possible and not get up too fucking early. Everything's supposed to be planned out. Now I gotta go motherfucking Sullivan Tire at some point. I'm like, this is terrible. So I asked the guy, I'm like, dude, is there any chance you could bring it by Capo? Long story short, this dude who works at Sullivan Tire, an employee of Sullivan Tire, went above and beyond the call of duty, gave me his personal cell phone number, and then later in the night, at like 10 o'clock at night, 5 hours after this dude's been off of work, I went to his house in Dorchester and picked up the key so I could have it for my drive today. So this dude, I did give him $20 for the trouble, but this dude went above and beyond. So yes, someone at Sullivan Tire made a massive mistake and kind of gave me stress and possibly ruined my set last night. Whatever. But it all worked out. And my buddy Andrew Del Volpe, who's getting a lot of shout outs this week, gave me a ride over there to go pick it up. And this is how we got into talking about Hypothetically a little bit. And he always kind of makes me, hanging out with him, he's kind of just getting into really working as a comic. He's starting to do regular gigs, he's starting to, host a lot. He's getting in at all the clubs in New England, and it's great to see his hard work pay off. But it makes you grateful for, like, oh yeah, it is so cool that I get to do this. I always feel that way, don't get me wrong. I'm not like one of those guys who's like jaded as fuck and constantly bitching about how shitty it is to be a comic. But I think you could do literally anything and feel that way. It's just life, no matter what you do. If your job was to eat candy all day, some days you'd be like, man, this candy's just, I just want something else. And I love doing stand-up. That was the problem. I had a great gig Saturday night up in Manchester, New Hampshire, a headlining gig. And, summer's ending, so we're getting back into, like, prime, just doing stand-up comedy time. The summer's weird, and you kind of got to make money wherever you can. And I really just missed doing just 45-minute sets of stand-up. I was like, man, I love acting. And I love doing radio shows and podcasts, and I love all that, going to Sox games and being on camera. I love it all. But there's nothing like just driving 45 minutes or an hour, clearing your head, then doing a nice stand-up gig, and then driving home and waking up the next morning with nothing to do. That's the dream. That's when you're really killing life as a comedian. Not to say all of it's comedy. Like I said, I've got a lot. I've sort of filled up my life with a lot of stuff. I've got the live-in girlfriend now, which is great, but of course that was a lot of work getting this stuff in, and we have our girlfriend-boyfriend activities that we do, being a stand-up comic, going on auditions, trying to get more commercial work, and also bowling, guys. I'm a fucking bowler. I'm in a league, man. Now I'm in a new league that's even more competitive and more intense, but I am getting better at bowling, and I did bowl 200 again for the second time just this past week. So that's exciting, getting better at bowling. So a lot of my busyness is of my own fault, but it's just, that's the balance, right? You gotta have a balance of work and play. So once I fucking get to New York City and park this motherfucker in a garage and I'm hitting the streets with my backpack and walking around and eating some food, I'll be happy as a fucking clam. I actually am kind of happy that I get to spend like a day in New York this time instead of just a half a day, I guess, or a few hours. Normally I just kind of spend a few hours. Not normally, but a lot of the time. But one of the things I just wish I could. I wish I planned New York better. I almost always fuck this up. Like I just wait. I got so much shit going on up in New England that these New York trips always sneak up on me. And you know, like I've said before, I don't make a lot of money going to New York. I like doing it, and I make money in this roundabout way where it's great promotion. It always gets my name out. Doing Kumia's show has always been one of the best things for me. Hanging with Kumia always like gets my blood going and just fills my comedy tank for another month. It's always great. Like it's always worth it. But it is, when you look at like the green and red of your fucking checking account, it is just like a $250 day, $300 day sometimes when you count parking, food, gasoline, whatever. So, you know, you gotta... I think I might be getting paid for this gig tonight, though. I actually don't even know. This thing is like... I've been doing some real serious show business things lately, so let's talk about that for a second. So your boy is actually in a real movie right now. All the tricks of a real movie, you know, I'm shooting... I'll be in this movie for 2 fucking minutes, but I'm shooting 4 days over 2 months, spread out over 2 months. In the movie, it'll seem like I'm going from one room to the next in the snap of a finger, but in reality, it's a month apart. So right now, I'm in the middle of waiting for my next day to shoot, but I have done day 1. And let me tell you, so, you know, I do consider myself sometimes a bit of a acting veteran, you know. I've been doing this acting thing since I was around 14 years old. Started with high school plays, but I did start auditioning for movies and TV shows and commercials when I was that age. I didn't really start doing it a whole lot until I was 16, 17, 18. That's when I really, really, really started hitting the auditions hard. But, you know, 4 or 5 auditions a year and a couple high school plays when I was 14. So I count that as the start, because the first time you go in front of a casting director and you're scared shitless and they're looking at you like you're a piece of meat, that's the day you start your professional acting career, and there's money on the line and all that shit. So this motorcycle guy's fucking playing with his life out here. So, yeah, that was over, fucking A. 14 was over 20 years ago, 22 years ago. And, yeah, obviously a high school play ain't shit, but I've been in over 20-something commercials. I've been in countless indie movies, indie shorts, college films, off-Broadway plays, vines, but all different types of things over the years. Classically trained actor, Shakespearean, method, all that shit. Got a degree. So I like to think I'm not like a complete moron. When I got this part in the movie, I was like, yeah, this is a big movie, and this is definitely the first movie I've ever done in this. Like, I've been an extra in a movie. Of bigger things like this I've been extras in, but this was like, I got lines, I got a real part, I got a trailer, I got all this shit. So I'm kind of excited, right? And I'm also but I will admit, I'm slightly nervous, but I'm like, I got this. I'm the fucking around here we Honda guy. I do those Honda commercials. You know, those are 11-hour days. I do those all by myself. I'm the only guy on fucking camera. Sometimes, you know, we got the extras a lot on the duck boat and stuff, but a lot of times I'm the only dude. It's all on me. So I can fucking act with a bunch of actors in a scene, right? That's what I'm telling myself. Of course, the other voice in my head when you're driving to the gig the next morning, you're like, fuck, this is real acting. This isn't selling fucking products or doing a voiceover or being a wacky comedian guy. I got to really be natural. Oh my God. So, but I jumped at the opportunity and I really enjoyed it. I don't want to talk about what the actual project is too much. I let a little bit of it out on the Noonan show, which I was like nervous about, and then I looked up, and most of the information that I said on the Noonan show was public. So it's this I can tell you, it's a movie called The Sleepover. It's filming all over Massachusetts. It's a teen kind of tweener kids movie, action movie, and it's the main characters are these 4 kids who are definitely going to be big stars. They're all talented little kids. They're not really little kids. They're like 13, 14, 15. And, I was telling this to Paul. It's like you watch people give interviews your whole life and you hear them say crap like that. Oh, man, these kids, they're great kids, man, and they're all going to be great. And it was really fun to work with these kids. And you hear someone say something like that in a TV interview or something, and you go like, man, if I ever make it, I'm not going to say stupid shit like that. Like, everyone just says the same thing. If I make it, I'm going to say the real truth. Those kids were brats, da-da-da-da. And then you end up actually doing this stuff, and the truth is, the reason why people say that stuff is because it probably is true most of the time. I got to admit, these kids, the reason why they're stars of a major motion picture is because they're talented. Kids can be talented actors. That's why I think acting is a little easier than stand-up comedy, because there's not a lot of killer stand-up comedian kids. Although one of these kids I think probably could be if he wanted to be. But they are very talented. I think the movie is going to be good. I'm very excited about it. But it's going to be a long time before it comes out. But I actually think it's going to be in movie theaters and on Netflix, which is exciting. So it's a big step up for your boy. It's a big notch on the old resume, which is cool. And, I'm enjoying the whole experience. But like I said, I roll up to that set, and it was like pretty immediately obvious that, like, oh boy, we're playing in the big leagues today. It's not really, even the Honda ads we do have a pretty big budget and are on these big sets where they do film movies, and it's very big production, very big. But a multi-million-dollar movie is a totally different story, man. And it was just so many. And also, I was talking to one of the wardrobe guys who he worked on the Marvel movies. He's like, dude, this ain't nothing. He's like, I feel like this is a small crew. He works on big movies. So, but yeah, just a whole campus of production trucks, 300 trucks, trailers, and, a cafeteria, 600 extras dressed in costume. They had 400 extras dressed in waiter costumes. So it's not like people showing up in their own clothes. It was a big production. And I was just one moving piece in it. So just did my best that day to kind of stay out of the way and wait until my time was called, and I did. But the only thing I didn't fuck up anything. It was typical movie day where I got there and everyone was in a big hurry to get me in my trailer and get me sitting there, and then I sat, no bullshit, for around 8 hours waiting. Did a lot of reading that day too. Did a lot of shooting the breeze with one of the actors' stand-ins, some teamsters. A lot of killing time. Don't smoke butts anymore. Can't smoke weed on a film set, so just a lot of time chilling and killing. But you're like, it's not like I just said earlier. I'm like, oh, I never have any free time. That's the kind of free time I get where it's like, oh, I'm having free time, but as soon as this free time ends, I'm in an ultra high pressure situation. So it doesn't really feel like super free time. But can't complain about anything. Shooting it was fun. The kids were great. And still got 2 or 3 more days left here in a couple weeks where I'll be doing that. So it's cool. And I already got paid for my one day of work, which is just nuts. The whole pay system of acting, as I've complained about many times in this podcast, is nuts. Sometimes you get paid for shit the day of. Sometimes you get paid for shit like a month later. Sometimes it's like 3 months later. Sometimes the thing is out and on TV and you haven't been paid. And sometimes it's all kinds of various differences. Holy shit. I thought I was like done. I'm only at 35 minutes. I haven't done a solo cast in a while, man. But that was one of the things. So the new Honda commercials are out. We filmed those in July on a very hot day. I think I'm going to go to this service plaza. Wow, this dude's got a fucking hog between his legs. Big Dick Larry. Yeah, I'm kind of hungry and thirsty, so we're going to do a halfway point break here on this podcast. I'm gonna go get something to eat, something to drink, and then when I come back, we'll talk a little bit more. Okay. Peace. Back, I ate a bacon cheese croissant from Dunkin' Donuts. They have a new thing going there right now where 2 for $5. That's way too much, but it's only $4.75 for one. So she was like, you can have 2 for 25 cents more. I was like, I don't care how sick I feel. Let's do it. So got that, ate like 1.5, and yeah, feeling a little Dunkin' illness, but I think it'll pass before I'm on my way still to New York. I have 1 hour and 2 minutes left. I remember this comedian that I worked with a couple years ago. He said something so true. He was like, when it's under an hour, you feel like you're there. And it's definitely true if you do a lot of long drives. Once you're under an hour, it's like, I'm basically there already. Here we fucking go. But yeah, so I was looking at my itinerary. I don't know why, but I assumed Jared's podcast was just like in the middle of Manhattan or near anything, but turns out he's all the way up on 131st Street. So I gotta fucking I'm doing some traveling around New York today, guys. Holy fucking shit. I'm gonna be going uptown, downtown, midtown. But that's show business. This podcast should be called Guy Complains About Not Being Successful, Enjoys featuring for a while, and then complains about success. That's the that's the fucking crux of the Hypothetically podcast. I don't want to complain. I wouldn't even say I'm a worrier. I'm just one of those people. I think about worst case scenarios. I think about everything in my mind takes longer than it's really going to take. And what you get at as you get older, you don't get better at that, but you just get better at like ignoring that voice. These fucking roads in Connecticut make weird sounds. They make me fucking freak out about my car. I groove them. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Honestly, though, I'm getting into the nitty-gritty of this drive, and I really should focus on it. I know I haven't hit an hour yet, so I think what I'm going to do is put this down for a little while and catch you guys tonight after I do everything else. So let's see what kind of mood I'm in. Let's see if I'm alone. Let's see what happens. Who fucking knows? But right now, I'm exactly 1 hour away from my destination. I'm hitting some tricky traffic and gonna make some maneuvers. And it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and pretty soon, the next time I talk to you guys, it might be like 9 or 10 hours from now. So magically, that will happen. Toodaloo! It's just surreal. Sometimes I always get a little bit like shell shock sometimes, because I grew up in Boston watching you guys. I watched I know. My dad
This window not go down?
No.
Oh, okay.
Is that a deal breaker?
I just want to make sure. No.
I forgot about that. We got this guy though.
Oh my God.
You know, comics, right? Like we love fucking air and we love control, and so every comedian who sits in that seat and is like, the window doesn't go down. It's like, oh yeah, sorry. Go, test.
I wanted to do a podcast, but I wanted to call it. I want to do a sketch podcast, where I write some stuff. I used to do radio with some friends of mine in Chicago.
That would be cool.
We called ourselves what was it? What did we call ourselves? It was called Dead Air. It was all sketch comedy. There was the guys at Second City guys. We wrote sketches and we did this stuff ourselves. It only lasted a little while because then we all got tired of going down to Sunday mornings for free.
Well, for the listener, the people listening to this, the last thing they heard was me parking the car and being like, all right, I'm in New York. Talk to you guys later. So now I'm back. I'm on the way back, 95 North. I'm riding. I said it when I got in the car. It's a bit surreal. Riding with one of my childhood heroes and now a friend. Now lucky enough to say a friend. Ken the Viper Rogerson. One of the finest comedians, actors. You got a fine Wikipedia page. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you got a nice Wikipedia page out there. I don't know. I saw
my manager set that up. I don't follow.
And but we're driving back. It's 11:29. A lot of our colleagues are
still in New York having pizza.
Still at the stand having fun and eating pizza. But
here's the thing: they'll all be driving home tomorrow in the sun with more cops and more traffic.
Yeah,
we'll be home in no time.
We'll be home chilling. So we're just driving back right now, and I would have done this. My podcast is called Hypothetically because I started when I was
That's very funny.
Was an open micer, and I would get high and feel pathetic, and then do this podcast.
We are ripping along the highway doing 7.
I am.
I stole that line from a guy named Avery Shriver. Ever heard of Burns and Shriver?
Burns and Shriver?
Yeah, it was. George Carlin was with Burns before Shriver. They were famous in the 60s and 70s.
Wow. I know Burns and Allen, right?
Yeah, no, Burns and Shriver were like these two radio guys. They were very funny. Avery Shriver one time came in. He said, I got arrested. I was doing 7. I stole that line from me back in 1970, whatever it was.
One of my favorite jokes of all time is the police story, Leslie Nielsen joke. Leslie Nielsen comes into a guy's office and he goes, who are you? How'd you get in here? And he goes, I'm a locksmith. And I'm a locksmith. My favorite. I like those kind of jokes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Did you have fun tonight?
There's a great, I was going to great Sammy Davis story about getting pulled over and he only had one eye. Sammy Davis had a glass eye. And I forget who he was with. Let's say, I want to say Mel Brooks, one of those fucking famous people. Or maybe Dean Martin. Anyway, he gets pulled over for speeding. And the cop says, I pulled you over. And he goes, listen, guy's only got one eye. You can watch the road or the speedometer. Which one you want him to watch? I'm paraphrasing.
I love that. What was his thing? What was his catchphrase? The Candyman. I'm the Candyman.
His big hits.
Yeah. Anyway, I was saying, did you have fun tonight?
Of course I did. It's hanging out with all your friends in the comic club. That used to be like this every night. There's 4, 5, 8, 9 guys, all who are funny, having a good time together.
I had fun too.
Yeah.
I had a fun time, and it was a bit of a long day, although fun. But I got up, drove to New York. I did 2 podcasts. 3 if you count the Tony and Jimmy one, and 4 if you count this one.
Right, so this is 4. You're young, you can do it.
Oh man, all these podcasts and the show.
Get off the weed, that's your problem.
Nope. It's I'm California sober, goddammit. But yeah, we're riding back, and it's I'm happy to have a riding buddy. I'm calling myself Viper 2. Oh, this will be a great question though. I've always wanted to know, how did the Viper nickname come about?
George McDonald hung that on me.
Oh.
And I think it was. I used to have the mustache that looked like fangs coming.
Like a Fu Manchu.
Yeah. And George McDonald, one night I was doing Mike McDonald's Party at Mike's Treehouse. He had a cable access show.
Mike McDonald, Boston Mike McDonald?
Yeah, he had a great show called Party at Mike's Treehouse.
Nice.
And I was backstage, and I'm sure I was pissed at everything somebody said. I just snapped at him. George goes, you're like a coiled viper.
Wow.
And that night Mike McDonald brought me up as the Viper, and I was the Viper ever since.
That's cool.
Because
there's not a ton of... There was like more nicknames back in the day, but there's not a lot of nicknames anymore.
Yeah,
but
Don Gavin had about 7 of them.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
What were they?
Let's see. Yank.
Yank?
Gav, yep, Yank.
What is Yank?
Yank. He said, "Yeah, why don't you give it a Yank?"
Oh.
He was Yank. He was Gav. He was. I'm trying to think of all of them now. Now it goes out of my head because I'm trying to think.
Wow, that's something.
Lenny and I had about 90 for each other. They've had different names.
The Viper's a good one though, but I remember hearing that. I remember that was sort of like like I don't know, like that was like kind of your thing. Like when I would go see shows like in the '90s with you and Sweeney and my parents used to take me to these Boston Police kind of functions, but also to Nick's sometimes.
Right.
And I just remember that. As a kid, it really puts a visual in your head at like 11, 12 of Viper.
Yeah, I should use that more than my name because people don't remember that. I used to wear these long duster coats when I was on the road. I did a lot of,
you still break that out once in a while, don't you?
I don't have them anymore.
Oh.
But I used to. I mean, I have an overcoat.
You do have a style. I remember when we did.
I have these dusters that I wore cowboy boots and jeans. But more people, you're the guy with the coat. They didn't know my act. You're the guy with the coat.
What was the thing you? Oh, the Hampton Beach. When I had the suit on, you had the like Hell's Angels or.
What did I have?
You remember that?
Yeah. What was I wearing?
I just remember we were like.
Oh, I know. I had a Satan's Garage shirt on. No, Lucifer's Garage.
Yeah, we were like
it was
totally.
a gift, yeah.
But yeah, you. I remember I think I was trying to find your email address or something in my thing, and I typed in your name, and it came. I searched your name instead of searching my email for your name, and like it came up, and it didn't say the Viper, it said Ken Rogerson, but it said it was your Wikipedia, and it focused on your TV writing and your.
They're old. They're colorizing my letterman. It'll be in color now.
But anyway, I guess a lot of people who listen to this podcast, I'd say the majority of the people who listen to this podcast are probably very new comedians who want to either get a taste of what the job is gonna be like, so it kind of prepares them a little bit,
right?
So they're not as much of a scared sheep walking through the world. It's sort of like a dry run. I know a lot of people use it that way, or just to hear the war stories. But what would you say if do you have a son?
I do.
Does he do stand-up?
No, he does not. He's an artist. He's working on a graphic novel right now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he's really talented.
How old is he?
29, I think.
Wow.
28.
So if he decided to do stand-up tomorrow,
right,
what would be the advice you would give him?
Get on any stage you can at any time, and don't do anything for money, and that's all you can do. You just got to get up and do it. There's no way to plan for it or practice.
That is wise.
You got to get up there and do it. And he wanted to try it one time years ago. I said, okay, we're going to put you on last in some really shitty rooms. He goes, what do you mean? I go, you think you can start with me and Lenny at Nick's show and those places? No, you're going to go to these really shitty shitholes and suffer.
You have to, really.
That's it.
And you said it.
If you don't suck, you don't get good.
And also, it is the time of growth is that stage time.
Yes.
It is writing a great bit is great, but you're not gonna write yourself out of having bad sets.
No.
You think you can, but
Nope.
it's unbreakable. It's an unbreakable curse.
I used to host open mics at Play It Again Sam's. And the guys who came in who were good right away, I go, they'll never be any good.
It's hard. Yeah, it's
They'll
true.
never be any good because there's nowhere for them to go. They're already getting laughs off stuff that's really not that great, but they're comfortable.
That, I might have had a little bit of that problem, I think, my first few years, because I did because I had come from acting and stuff. I'd say my first year, like, I got too much too fast down here in New York. Nothing like too crazy, but I did get like a little thing on MTV in my first year, and it makes you think like, oh, I must be good,
Right.
And then you start really leaning on your just bullshit,
Yeah.
basically your own bullshit.
There was a guy came in one night. He was an open micer, and I said, all I wanted to do is I just want to have time to smoke a cigarette and do a line. I said, can you do 5 minutes? He goes, I don't really want to go up. The crowd's not that good. I went, what did you just
What
say?
the fuck?
Yeah. I said, here's the deal. Get the fuck out of here and never come back.
Yeah,
Just
make
let go.
them good.
Never come back. And I never put them on stage again. Never come back.
Yeah, that is.
I want somebody who's scared shitless, as I always was.
Well, and also I always thought that was the best challenge of all time. If you can. You can take a shitty crowd and get them good.
When I started out, man, there was a guy named Jim Fay who was one of the house MCs. Arsenio Hall was a house MC at Zany's. But Jim Fay was a Second City cat, and he would burn the crowd to the ground. He'd do 10 minutes between every act because he was on stage. He loved it. He was good. But I'd get there at 8 o'clock at night for 9 o'clock show, sometimes 7:30.
Closure ahead in 3 miles.
I'd sign up to be the first one on the list, and he put me on last every fucking time. Every time I went down, I'd be a nervous wreck all week, take the L downtown, Sunday nights, every night. I ended up being his roommate years later, and I said, why did you do that? He goes, well, I thought you had something. I just wanted to see how bad you wanted it. I go, well, that's really nice of you, but you could have put me on the middle one fucking time, you prick.
You're a Chicago guy, right?
I started in Chicago, yes.
I always forget that.
Yeah.
Were you raised in Chicago?
Nope, grew up in Connecticut, but I had a friend of mine going to Northwestern, and I knew I wanted to try comedy. I thought, well, they must do it in Chicago. Someone will know how to go about it, and I hitchhiked out there in '77.
Wow.
I started doing open mic.
Hitchhiked?
Yeah.
Do you remember any of the people that drove you?
Absolutely.
Really?
I want to hear a story?
Absolutely.
I told my
Absolutely, I do.
I had a lot of. Here's the thing. A friend of mine stole me a backpack from Child World. He worked there. And on that backpack, I had some socks and some pants and I had an ounce of weed in my boot and a bottle of tequila. And in my boot, I had a stiletto. It was a safer time then, but I didn't want to end up stuffing a drain pipe.
Stiletto in the boot? That's a knife?
It's a knife, yeah.
Yeah.
Not a switchblade, but it's very sharp.
Yeah.
Very pointy.
Like an ice pick, right?
Yeah, you could buy them at head shops in those days. You had a button. If you flicked it just right, you get the blade up pretty quick. So I'm hitchhiking to Ohio. Meet this guy, and it's like we're best friends in 5 minutes.
Wow.
Talking about the cone heads who were on SNL the night week before, and laughing. And there's a little alone. He goes, so how you fix your money? I'm thinking, what the fuck did that come from?
Wow.
Man? What's this guy want to know about my money? He goes, I had some blue chips. I made some joke. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
He goes, no, seriously. I go, what the fuck does this guy want to do? Want me to go home for cash?
Yeah.
So he starts reaching to his. So I reached down in my boot, and I got my thing. Because he's reaching into his breast pocket. If this guy pulls out a can of mace or a piece, I'm gonna bury this knife into his neck up to the fucking hilt.
We both die.
He takes his hand and he starts peeling off $5 bills. He goes, here, man, I've done some hitchhiking myself. You might not have enough to get you to Chicago. And I turned crimson. I could feel I went, oh, no, I'm good, man. That was so embarrassed. I almost stabbed the guy. He could have been a nicer guy.
Wow.
That we smoke weed. That's weed makes you paranoid. That's something.
Yeah, that'll happen. Did you take the money?
No.
Wow,
No.
you didn't need it.
I wouldn't even take money from a stranger. I had money. I wasn't rich, but I had enough to get me by.
I've stayed out here in these hotels. It's fucking rough.
Me too.
Couple clubs out here.
I had another one. This was all in the book. I got picked up by a cop one time. New York State Troopers were always the coolest. So I'm on the highway, and it's there's no cars going by, and I lean up against the fence, the guardrail, and just twist up a fatty and smoke it.
Yeah.
And then eat the roach, of course, because that's what you did. You didn't waste it.
Right on the guardrail.
Yeah. I look at the clouds go by, and the state trooper rolls up. He goes, "Hey, you can't hitchhike on the highway here. It's against the law." He says, "You got to be on the other side of a toll booth." I go, well, how far is the next one? He goes, "Too far to walk. Hop in."
Oh, nice.
Wait, I'm stoned. So I get in, and I immediately say, "Boy, I've never ridden in the front of a police car before." Which I go, "Shut the fuck up, man." So we talk. We make small talk, right? And I'm when you're stoned with someone who's not stoned, and you try to act not stoned, you feel more stoned.
Yeah,
The more
absolutely.
normally you try to act, the more stoned you feel.
You really feel eye contact.
I'm with a state trooper now. So I remember this clearly. I just quit quiet. He stops talking, I stop talking. And I remember riding along, and in the median there was this hedge. And this happened in like a nanosecond. There was a hedge that looked like a hippopotamus to me, rearing up on its hind legs with a big smile on its face. And I remember thinking this, how things just go through your mind when you're stoned.
Yeah.
Can hippopotamuses, can they stand on two hind legs? Do they smile like that? Why are their teeth so bad? And I had this whole thing going through my head, and I started laughing. And I remember the guy asked me what I was laughing at, and I told him. And it got real quiet in the car. And I thought, oh my God, he must know I'm fucking high. He must know I'm fucking high. And I was so paranoid because I was telling about this hippopotamus and laughing like a fool because I was stoned.
That is so funny.
And it gets real quiet. And I go, I'm sorry, man, I need sleep. I've been up for days. He goes, okay. So he pulls over in the front of this off ramp, and he goes, yeah, you should eat something, man. I go, thank you. Maybe like a big Twinkie. And I get out and I go, did that fucker know I was stoned? He must have smelled it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He knew I was stoned the whole time. Did he know I was stoned? Yeah,
like a big
Twinkie. And I go, that prick knew I was stoned, but I was so paranoid. He was really
That's
cool.
such a funny, kind of little mean. It's kind of like a rib,
But he was getting off on the fact that he knew I was high, and he knew I was paranoid because he's a cop.
Yeah, and cops really...
I wasn't sure if he knew, and to this day I'm not sure.
My dad, I was raised by kind of a fun cop. My dad cut a lot of people a lot of breaks, and now, it's funny, he's getting older now, and those are his favorite stories to tell, how he let people go. And he says it sucks because he says it's really a part of policing that it was community policing. It was like, hey, you don't ride these guys too hard because these are the guys you see every day, and you try and cut people breaks if you can here and there.
Yeah, it was also a different time back then.
But now they have literal body cams on. I mean, you can't.
And also, believe me, I've been pulled over so many times by cops, drunk, high, and they cut me some slack, man. Nowadays, it'd be sued.
Yeah?
I got pulled over to my friend Jeff. Jeff Allen is a very funny guy. We were big drinking buddies back in the 70s. And I got lost in South Chicago, and I didn't know where the fuck I was trying to get back to Evanston, which is north of the city.
Yeah, my college roommate was from Evanston.
Yeah. So I get lost.
Marlon Brando's birthplace.
I remember going, was it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I lived there for a couple years. Anyway, I get lost in South Chicago, and I can't find a highway, and I got a map. In those days, we had maps. Big map on for Bud Kinger empties all over the place, and I get pulled over. And I get in the back of the cruiser, and I realize I'm just going to jail. I'm so drunk.
Oh.
The guy goes, "You got any money?" I go, "Nah, I got laid off." I made up a I got laid off today. I was drinking with a guy I barely know, and I got lost. And I just go, fuck it. I fall asleep. And I wake up, and the guy goes, "How do you feel?" I go, "A little better." He hands me my license. He goes, "Okay, get home safely. Don't fuck up, because if you get in an accident, you're going to fuck us up." I go, "Well, you're letting me go?" He goes, "Yeah, we're letting you go." I go, "Oh, my God, thank you." But nowadays you couldn't do that because if I got in an accident, I would have never thought to sue them.
No, of course.
People would now.
Or if you, if you hit someone and then they could trace it back to you.
Oh yeah.
So I have a family friend. Recently had a kind of a funny story. Her grandmother, had a stroke, right, while driving. But she's like this little old lady, you know. Right. So she has a stroke while driving, and the cops think she's shit-faced, and they try and take her home.
Oh, no.
So they're like, all right, like, we'll take her home and just, like, hook her up. So they take her home, and then the daughter comes home, and the mom's, like, making no sense, and she's like, "I got arrested." Like, and it's just like she's having a stroke.
Oh, that's awful.
So then they take her to the, they were driving to the, I forget what happened, but somehow they ended up running into the cops a second time that same exact day, and had to explain it. But it was one of those things like, oh man, those cops were actually really trying to be solid dudes, but they actually put an old woman at a huge risk.
But I mean, I had guys who would drive me in Connecticut when I was growing up. They'd take your beer and dump it out. They'd take your keys and make you sleep in the car, or drive you home, or follow you home.
I think I'm gonna get a caffeinated beverage.
You're talking turkey.
Yeah, you know. The mood hits you, The
fuck. Yeah, it was just a different time then. But all the cops ever ran into, I always get along great with cops because they're just good guys.
In a quarter mile, merge onto I-95 North.
Shut the fuck
up.
Alright.
Bridge, we know that.
Kenny.
You need gas? You got gas?
No, we're good. We got a full tank.
I'll pay.
Now would be a good time to do it because I probably only use a gallon. No, I'm kidding because I only I get a full tank. Look at that. Look at that.
I can see it's not full.
It's almost full. Do you have anything you'd like to plug? That would be the biggest gift.
I just did a Dry Bar comedy special, which I'm not sure when that airs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fucking A. Congrats.
I did it on Saturday. That's where that came in from Provo, Utah. So I just filmed that, and we'll see.
Damn, Provo.
Yeah. All Mormons, but
cool.
Awesome people.
So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, it should be out, I think, around Christmas, hopefully. Awesome. Something like that. And that's it.
And of course, this.
Best of Boston.
Best of Boston. No, we're doing it together. Awesome. Well, thanks.
Thanks for having me on your podcast. Is that what it's called? Podcast? I'm old.
Toodaloo, everybody.
Oh.
Ciao. Hey, everybody. So, dropped Kenny off, and I'm pretty much home. I'm like 5-10 minutes away from my house. It is 2:37 in the morning right now. I left the house today at 10 a.m. Coming back 3 a.m. So, what is that? Not that bad. 24 hours minus 7 is 27. No, 17. 17. 17-hour day? It's not too bad. That's not too bad. I'm a little stoned. I'm very tired. It was great hanging out with Kenny Rogerson. I should have fucking recorded a lot more, but to be honest, we're friends, but we really became much better friends tonight, obviously, on this long car ride, and not all the best stories can be recorded, unfortunately, but we just shot the shit for about 3 fucking hours straight. Right after we got off, we went and got some McDonald's. Kenny treated me to some McDonald's, and it was delicious. What a day, though, man. I gotta say, thank you to Jim Serpico. It's one of the coolest days I've had in a long time. I've had some pretty cool days in comedy this year, but, you know, John Tobin, Jim Serpico, Ryan Cott, they just continue to take care of me. Chris, I tell you. Stand, Anthony Gumia, Jared Freed. Let's get younger. Oh my God, and it's 9/11 right now, too. I just passed a fucking billboard. It is now 9/11. What the fuck is happening? Wow. Big day. I never make sense when I'm high driving back from New York, as we know from listening to this podcast. But thank you guys. Thank E-Rock. Thanks Steve Halligan. Thanks everybody, man. I just really enjoy Keith the Cop. Everybody. Don Gavin. Christine Hurley. New York City. What a fun day. I am tired. I think I'm going to sleep as much as I can, but I bet you $10 I still wake up at 9 a.m. tomorrow. But I'm still happy I did this. I had a great time at the stand, but it was so crowded, and waitresses were getting annoyed with me and my backpack being in their way constantly. So it was time to go. Corey Rodriguez offered me a place to sleep, but I had promised Sir Rogerson a ride, and I do not renege on a promise. And also, I enjoy a one-day trip to New York myself. I think I've sort of built up a pretty high tolerance to long drives. It's almost a zen meditative experience to me at this point. And I've driven around 8 hours today, and I'm feeling not so bad about it. Not so bad about it at all. This is what it takes, motherfuckers. Well, what a cool day in comedy. Once again, they're adding up. They're not as infrequent as they used to be. Truly lucky. Thank you guys for your support through the years and now. Onward and upward. Continuing what we're doing. Hit up the Patreon if you feel like. Check out my other show, The Noonan Show, if you feel like. Check out my t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com if you feel like. Check out this new album if you feel like. Do what you feel like doing to help me out if you can. But I appreciate it. And I appreciate you listening. And remember, if no one told you they love you today, I can barely talk. If no one told you they love you today, I do. Peace out, motherfuckers. Test. Uno, dos, tres. Uno, dos, tres. Blake's Aquaden. Aquarium, fish, and supplies. Blake's Aquaden. Bolt for a buck. Blake's Aquaden. Ga 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 ga. Test, 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 test. Test, test. Okay, so